You know, we've all heard the story of Pompeii, right? The Roman city that was just frozen in time by volcanic ash. But what if I told you there was another one? An even more exclusive Roman resort, a literal playground for emperors that met a completely different and maybe even more fascinating fate. Okay, let's dive into this.
We're talking about a place called Baia. And honestly, it was so opulent, so legendary, it kind of makes Pompeii look modest. But its incredible story isn't preserved in ash. Nope, it's preserved underwater. This is why so many people call it the underwater Pompeii, and today we're going to explore exactly why that is. I mean, just let that sink in for a second. An entire Roman city, complete with its fancy villas, its statues, its streets, just waiting for us right below the surface of the sea. It totally sounds like something out of a myth, but I promise you, it's absolutely real.
So the huge difference between these two famous cities is how they were preserved. Pompeii was a sudden, violent catastrophe. A volcano erupts and boom, the city gets buried. Baia, though, its end was totally different. It was a slow, gradual descent into the sea over hundreds of years. Two legendary cities, two very, very different endings.
All right, let's jump back in time. Long before it became an underwater park, Baia was the most fashionable resort in the entire Roman Empire. Seriously, this was the spot where the super rich and powerful came to see and be seen.
The philosopher Seneca, who lived back then, called it a vortex of luxury and a harbor of vice. And trust me, he was not exaggerating. Baia had this wild reputation for hedonism, for over-the-top parties and political scheming that were legendary even by Roman standards.
And just get a load of this guest list. We are talking about the A-listers of the Roman world. Julius Caesar, the infamous Emperor Nero, the philosopher Emperor Hadrian. They all had these huge, luxurious villas here. This wasn't just some vacation spot. It was a real center of power.
So, why was this place so incredibly popular? Well, it came down to two things. First, the natural volcanic hot springs. People believed they had healing properties, making it basically the world's first luxury spa. And second, it was the perfect place to escape the political chaos of Rome and just indulge in a life of pure, unfiltered opulence.
But here's the thing. Those grand villas and temples didn't just vanish. They're still there. They're just waiting for us, right beneath the waves. So come on, let's take a little virtual tour of these incredible sunken treasures.
What's just mind-blowing is how accessible this lost world actually is. The main ruins of Baia aren't buried in some deep, dark abyss. Nope, they're resting in just 5 to 10 meters of water. That's shallow enough to be explored by divers, snorkelers, and you can even see them from glass-bottom boats.
Okay, our first stop is absolutely spectacular. This is the Nymphaeum of Emperor Claudius. And this wasn't just a villa, it was a submerged imperial banquet hall, designed for the most exclusive, lavish parties you can possibly imagine.
And this wasn't just any old dining room. It was built like a grotto, and it was decorated with these incredible marble statues showing scenes from Homer's Odyssey, Ulysses and the Cyclops. Can you just imagine dining there, surrounded by myth and art, with water features flowing all around you? Incredible.
All right, next up, we're moving to a villa with a much darker story. This is the villa of the Pisoni family, and this place is tied directly to a super high-stakes plot against one of Rome's most infamous emperors.
That's right, the owner, a guy named Gaius Piso, was the leader of a failed conspiracy to assassinate Emperor Nero, right here in this very villa. When the plot was uncovered, Piso was forced to take his own life, and Nero just seized the property for himself. You can still see the huge outlines of this massive complex on the seafloor today.
So, for our final stop, we're heading to the Villa a Protiro. This site is famous not so much for its politics, but for its absolutely stunning artistic details that have somehow, miraculously, survived 2,000 years underwater. Just look at this. The floors of this villa are covered in these intricate black and white mosaics, and they're almost perfectly preserved. Seeing these beautiful patterns on the seabed, it's just this direct, breathtaking connection to the city's rich and artistic past. It's basically an underwater art gallery.
So, we've seen these magnificent ruins. But the big question remains, how in the world did an entire city end up underwater? Well, the answer isn't a single dramatic event, but a slow, relentless geological process. The key term you need to know here is bradyseism. The whole region around Baia is what's called a volcanic caldera, and that means the ground itself literally breathes. It slowly rises and falls over centuries because of the pressure from magma chambers deep underground.
So unlike Pompeii's sudden burial, Baia's end was more like a slow-motion sinking. Over hundreds and hundreds of years, the land just gradually sank lower and lower, and the Mediterranean Sea simply rolled in, claiming the waterfront villas, the streets, and the temples, preserving them in this gentle, watery embrace.
Now, the sinking of Baia was obviously a tragedy for the Romans, but for us today, it's an unbelievable gift. It created a time capsule of Roman high society that's truly unlike anything else in the world.
And so, what's really amazing is that today, Baia is a protected archaeological park. It's a living museum where you can literally swim through history, floating right over mosaic floors and past ancient marble columns. It's a direct, unfiltered window into the most extravagant corners of the Roman world.
Which, leads us with a final fascinating thought. Baia was found relatively recently, and it was kind of hiding in plain sight. It really makes you wonder, what other secrets, what other lost worlds are still out there, silent and preserved, just waiting for us beneath the waves?